Hello, everyone, and welcome to this evening Parent Involvement Committee meeting for 2026. Yay! It's great to have you all here with us this evening. We have regret from Vice Chair Carla Peloso, and we will begin with our land acknowledgement that will be read by Rachel tonight.
Okay, so you don't see me, forgive me. So thank you for the honor. Simcoe County District School Board acknowledges that we are situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe people. The Anishinaabe include the Ojibwe, Ottawa, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three First Confederacy. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people.
Thank you, Rachel. We call our meeting time at 6:04 this evening. Thank you all again for being here. The mandate of PIC is to support, encourage, enhance parent engagement at the board level to provide student achievement and well-being, provide information, advice to the board, and present, on parent engagement, communicate with and support school council, undertake activities to help parents support their children's learning at home and at school. With Vice Chair Carla Pelosa absent tonight, we will need to be, pardon me, I'm going to read my notes. With regrets from Vice Chair Peloso, a vice chair will need to be elected on a pro temp basis for tonight's meeting. I will now call for a nomination for the office of Vice Chairperson for the Parent Involvement Committee for this evening. May I have a nomination, please? Any nominees? Don't be shy, guys.
I'm going to nominate Catherine.
You're going to nominate Catherine? May I have a first? Oh, Susan nominated Catherine. May I have a second?
Can we have someone else nominate Catherine, please?
Susan?
I can nominate Catherine.
Second.
I second that.
Rachel, first, second by Ken. All in favor?
Aye.
Catherine, do you accept the office
Sure,
of
I
Vice Chair
accept.
for these? Thank you so much. Thank you again for supporting me this evening. At this time, I'm looking for a motion that the agenda be approved as printed.
I'll move the agenda as presented.
May I have a second?
I can
second that. Both
So-
Natricia and Catherine seconded it.
And all in favor? Motion carried. Pardon me. Kim, can you chime in for a second? Did I miss a step with the nomination for office?
And nope, she was the only one. She accepted the nomination and she assumed the vice chair. So you're good to go. Agenda and now just the minutes.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
At this time, I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes from November 25th, 2025. May I have motion to approve? Sydney? Second by
Catherine can second.
Catherine. Thank you so much. The motion, all in favor? The motion to approve the November 25th, 25 have been carried. Thank you all. As we move along to our presentation for this evening, will be special education. Please join me in welcoming Tyson Maxwell, Principal of Special Education Services, and Jennifer French, Consultant, Special Education Services.
Hello, everyone. As Melissa said, my name is Tyson Maxwell. I'm the Principal of Special Education. There are two of us, so there's myself and Megan Francis. and we work with Superintendent Greg Jacobs in special education. My areas include sort of I would say Alliston, Bradford, Collingwood, Wasaga Beach, Innisfil are my primary areas. And then with me tonight is Jennifer French, and she is one of our consultants for Area C. Again, the Bradford, Innisfil area is the majority of her schools. So tonight, Ms. Slabowski asked us to speak to you a little bit about IEPs. So what is an IEP? How we go about creating an IEP? We'll talk a little bit about placements, growth plans, and also sort of a parent's role within that IEP and the IEP process. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Jen French to start the presentation.
Thanks, Tyson. I'll just add that on top of Innisfil and Bradford, IEP Online is my portfolio as a consultant. So that's I'm happy to be asked to present this. Just so everyone's aware, part of my partnership on the IEP portfolio is Amy Cochran and Christy Cruz. Christy Cruz couldn't be here tonight. I know Amy's trying to get on, so if you see her pop in, she is moral support for me, so please let her in. So I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully get it right. And I will, why is that not letting me present? Oh, there we go. Okay, can we see the title page? Perfect.
Yes,
All
we
right, and
can.
so I will start, and I will give 5 minutes at the end if anyone has any questions or comments. So the agenda we're going to look at, as Tyson said, what is the IEP? When is it created? Who has one? The different placements, whether we talk about a growth plan or an IEP for a student, supports in schools for the students with an IEP, and then the parents' guardians' role. So the IEP is really what we look at when we determine how and what we're going to be teaching the students in terms of the ministry's curriculum. And so we have accommodations, which helps a student achieve the expectations. It's not a change to the program. It is strategies in the classroom to help them achieve their grade level curriculum. Modifications, there's two different types of modifications that we can do in an IEP. The first one that we try to do if possible is to modify their students' grade level. So that is either reducing the complexity of those curriculum expectations or significantly reducing the number of expectations that are being assessed. And the other modification is actually going off of grade level to a grade level curriculum based upon data that has been collected. And then the alternative program goals are goals that are deemed necessary for student success, but that aren't part of the Ontario curriculum. So we're talking, could be toileting, self-regulation, social skills, organization, those types of things that you won't find a specific curriculum for, but that directly impacts the students' learning at school. And then the other part that I would like to highlight in the IEP is the transition plan, the transition goals, which can be the big T's we call. So whether it's elementary school to secondary school or kindergarten into elementary school, or the little T's could be transition from recess back into school or transition from math to, say, language. So when do we create that? For those students who already have an IEP, we have 30 days from the very first day of school, each school year, to get that IEP created and sent home. Throughout the year, if an SNC determines that an IEP is required for a student, then we can do that throughout the year as needed. And if a student has been identified through an IPRC process, they must have an IEP. So again, if it is a new IPRC, it is 30 days following that IPRC. So again, every student who has an IPRC has an IEP. Again, IPRC is Identification, Placement, and Review Committee, so an identification and or placement. The again, SNC determines the whether a growth plan is needed, whether just strategies are needed, or whether we need to actually proceed through data into an IEP. And again, if teachers are finding students who regularly require specific accommodations in order for students to access their curriculum, whether that's environmental or assessment or instructional, then we can look at an IEP as well. And so this is just a graphic. I know it's a lot to read right now, but it really is sort of our thinking on IEPs as a board in Simcoe County. So at the top of that triangle, that's where most of our students are going to be, and those are students that are accessing the curriculum with good teaching practice. As we go down, fewer students, we may consider a growth plan, or as we go down further, consider an IEP, which could be accommodations only. Can we implement accommodations to a program in order to have students achieve their grade level successfully without modifications? Then we look at, okay, if more intervention is needed, now we can do modifications at grade level, whether, again, and I mentioned this earlier, it's a reduced number or it's reduced complexity. But again, we're getting smaller and smaller in numbers. Then we go to full modifications off of grade level. Then even smaller, some modifications below grade level, and possibly some alternative goals to assist the student. And then in our very smallest number of cases, a student's IEP may just be all alternative goals. Okay, and a lot of times we'll find that in our county classes, such as life skills in secondary or developmental skills in elementary. So some of the placements for students who have an IEP, and they may or may not have an IPR. Sorry, we good? Sorry, they may have an IPRC or they may not. We have the regular class placement with indirect support. So that is a special education teacher who is more or less providing support to the teacher in order to provide supports, ideas, strategies to the teacher to support the student in their class. We could also have regular class with resource assistance. So that is a student who is in the regular class with a special education resource teacher coming into the class to support the student. And then also we have regular class with withdrawal assistance. So that is a student who has a regular class placement. This special education resource may pull the student out for small group instruction, specialized interventions. We also have our more intensive placements, and these are ones that must be determined through an IPRC. Again, identification, this is the P, the placement, which is elementary learning centers. So all of our schools have elementary learning centers, and they are 51% of the student's day based on the learning literacy and numeracy. And the class maximum is 16 students, so there's no more than 16. We also have elementary social skills, and that is a specialized program to develop and support learning social skills. They must have cognitive abilities in the average range to be able to internalize and learn the social skills being taught. And we have a specialized special education teacher that does the programming, and we have a CYW, child and youth worker, who does the social skills teaching with an EA to support, and that's a maximum of 8 students. We also have elementary gifted classes. They're not in every school, but we do have them in each area, and they are a maximum of 25, and it's only elementary. We don't have any secondary gifted classes or streams. And finally, the elementary developmental skills / secondary life skills. I combined them. They are for students who have a developmental disability. There's a maximum of 10 students. And again, it is programming based upon the life skills that they will need post-secondary in order to be as independent as possible. So whether that's laundry, it could be personal hygiene, care, basic literacy, basic numeracy. And so in elementary, we call that developmental skills, and in secondary, we call that life skills. Oh, sorry, one more. Our ASD class or complex care class, that is for students who are identified with autism spectrum disorder, and that is a maximum of 6 students in that class. And so I just wanted to show you a growth plan template. So in the S&C, we might decide before we go to an IEP, we want to look at a growth plan, and that is the team deciding what are some strategies we can put in place for the student to see if we can fill that gap, to see if we can bolster their learning without implementing an IEP at that time. And so it could be for kindergarten students who need a little bit of support with toileting, or a specific skill deficit where maybe some U-Fly activities with a special education teacher might bridge that gap. So we'll do a growth plan, or even just as a first strategy for certain diagnoses. And so in our schools, we have a number of supports for students with IEPs, including, and I'm just going to go down this list, special education resource teachers, and I've talked about all of those different placements there, educational assistants, graduation coaches, Indigenous student advisors and Indigenous resource teachers, social worker, child and youth workers, guidance in secondary schools, student success teachers. We do referrals for occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech and language pathologist referrals. We have registered behavior analysts. So used to be our ABA team. Now they're called our behavior analysts. Behavior coach referrals we can do. Special education consultants and facilitators. So that's like myself coming in to support the school and the students. And also the secondary has the special education curriculum lead. Excuse me. In terms of spaces, our schools, we have sensory rooms, calming rooms. We have what some schools will call base or resource rooms in elementary, where students can access that on an as-needed basis. Secondaries have resource room where, again, they can access that on an as-needed basis. Structured learning environments we promote, and the use of classroom and or individual visuals around to support the environment. Group activities, so our S&C meetings, to support the students on an ongoing basis, movement and sensory breaks in and out of the classroom. So we like to promote sensories stations in a classroom, as well as sensory rooms, or even just in a movement break. Self-regulation activities in and out of the classroom, small groups for social skills or reading support, specialized programs such as UFly, Lexia Core 5, Readtopia, and specialized gifted events for those gifted classes we will do at the board office a number of times through the year, where they get to come to the board office and we do some specialized math activities and debates, and they're really really supportive and fun for those kids. Other things we have is the SEA, a specialized equipment allocation for technology and programs, and also sensory equipment. So if a student requires a Chromebook or any devices, we can access that. School-based assessments, if applicable, like a CATIA. Psychoeducational assessments, if applicable and available. The IEP, obviously, inclusive recreation programs offered by SCDSB that can be found on the board website. Summer learning programs. There's a specific one that we do for teaching students how to use their SEA devices, Chromebooks, etc., in order to support their learning when they're in school. Positive peer interaction programs, and secondary e-learning courses. And so for a parent guardian's role and the best way to support and what supports are available to parents. The first and one of the best ways directly to support the student in a school is to complete and return this IEP consultation form. Parents are the people that know their students the best. And by completing this, it gives the school the valuable information that we can incorporate into an IEP. We have moved forward in trying to make this more accessible for parents in terms of digitally sending it and sending it back. So we're not getting crumpled papers in bags and having to search for them, and it goes directly to parents' emails. 4 minutes. So providing copies of assessments and other relevant information is supporting, working to give feedback on the IEP. Communication with school staff is very, very, very important and valuable. And supporting the transition process, setting those goals is valuable, because we need to support the student in what your transition goals are as well. And so for parents, in supporting parents for IEPs, this is a lot, but accessing the classroom teacher or the special education resource teacher or the school's administration in the school, that is always the first go-to, and to be a collaborative team. The board website has a number of resources and video resources for parents. There's a Stuart Shanker self-regulation course for parents that more information on the board website is available for parents. The IEP resource guide from the Ministry of Ontario. There's a really interesting website called Source for Inclusive Education, and that is designed specifically for parents, by parents, to support an inclusive classroom and support the IEP. The Learning Disabilities Association of Ontario has a really good website as well, and it specifically talks about resources for IEPs and parents guides. LD at School, again, has a how to support parents involvement. Ontario Principals Council, if you Google that, they have a resource for parents page. And then Learning for All from the ministry and the SCDSB Special Education Advisory Committee, the SEAC committee. And finally, People for Education, which was an independent parent group helping parents. They have a tip sheet, and it looks like this next slide. And so it's just a nice, quick guide for parents, from parents, on IEPs and what to look for, and important information that is good for them to have. Finally, the SCDSB Parents Special Education, Parents Guide to Special Education, and the Special Education Plan, which can be found on the board website. I'm going to skip that. And so now, are there any questions?
Hi, Jennifer. It's
Hi.
lovely to see you.
Oh, it's so lovely to see you too. I wanted to say hi before I started, but
Thank you so much for the amazing presentation. I had two questions
okay.
and a comment. First one being, who collects the data to ensure that these students are placed in the appropriate program?
Okay. Well, so that is a team effort that can come from psycho educational assessments, psychologists, that can come from special education resource teachers, through in-school assessments. It can come from teachers. It can come from the central special education team. It really is a collaborative process.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Do you mind stop sharing your screen
Okay,
before I
yes,
ask you for your
I'm
next
trying to
question?
figure out how to do
Thank
it
you so
so
much.
that I could see you.
Yes, thank you so
There
much.
you are. Sorry, yeah.
And perfect. And my next question is, once these students have been assessed and placed, and so some of these students have to be removed from their classroom for whatever program that they're doing during that block, how are we ensuring that once the student been removed from the classroom and been placed back is being caught up and not feeling more stressed and pressured by the fact that they may have missed math, which is crucial and one of the areas that they might have been struggling in the first place?
Good question. A lot of that, number one, is based on timing in the classroom. When we are talking about students who are being pulled, we do prefer to do resource. When we are talking about students who are being pulled and they have an IEP, if it is math time and they have a modified math page, then they are not missing math because they're getting their math instruction, their math assessment through that withdrawal. So that when they go back, they move on to the next programming, whether, that's art or science or whatnot. If it is like a growth plan where they're doing just a short pull and it's not modified, then the special education resource teacher is doing that pulling, is working in collaboration with that teacher to ensure that whatever is happening in the classroom is not just dropped on the kid, on the student, and
Right.
you have to catch up. It's woven in.
Okay, perfect. That's wonderful. Thank you for that. And final statement. How can we best support our parents with students that are newly diagnosed? Because it can be overwhelming finding out that your child is diagnosed with whatever variation it may be, and parents receiving a bunch of forms coming home, one of them being the consultant form, and just reassuring in them that there are no right or wrong answer to your question, because this is a new avenue for parents, including myself once upon a time, and being overwhelmed by these documents that most of us as parents don't speak that language, right? And to say, here is a piece of information, share what you believe might be your child's gold or strength, but there is no right or wrong answer, because sometimes when you receive the IUP, once it's completed and you read through it, sometimes it's a bit daunting, right? And then you might start to think that, oh, what I may have put on my consultation form does not reflect, the goals and the expectation for my child.
That's a really amazing question. I actually really love that. So one of the things I think is important is that communication between the school and the home and the SNC meetings that we have in order to bridge that gap. And so first and foremost, it is part of the school's responsibility during those SNCs to help them. One of the other things we are doing when students are getting these complex diagnoses that are very hard to navigate, our central team is called in and we actually meet with parents. And for example, last week I met with a family and we went through how to apply for OAP funding and went through the OAP website and where to do that, how to get support for that particular diagnosis in the community, and what agencies are helping them as well. So that is also something that we're rolling out as part of a central team piece as well.
Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. And
Sydney?
I saw your boy the other day. He's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. Jen and I have a long-standing history, so it's a pleasure to have you here with us tonight.
Thank you.
Sydney, you have a
Hi,
question?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for that presentation. It's very informative. And I just wondered, you were talking about the ASD class as well as the Elementary Learning Center, and the max number of students in there. I'm just wondering, what's the ratio then of staff or teachers or support to those classrooms with those kids?
And that will vary depending on the needs in the room. So yeah,
So I can speak a
there's
little
no
bit
answer.
to that. So, so Sydney, just basically what we often do is like Jen was saying, it's a little bit based around the needs of the room. You may have a teacher and two EAs as kind of like a usual sort of standard piece in there. Sometimes depending on, I would say, transitional time, sometimes we do have more staff in those rooms. Like when students are coming back into school from maybe the summer break or from the holidays, sometimes you will have those pieces that come into play because we want to make sure and we're setting a student up for success when they're returning, especially once they're out of routine, right? So in those classes, we tend to have that. Learning centers very much vary. You will sometimes have a teacher in that room. You may have a teacher in EA. Again, very much dictated by sort of the needs of the students that we work with every day.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Rachel?
So I have some challenges with my. Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for that. Important. My question is a little bit before what Melissa asked. How can we as PIC member help parents know even how to access that or even to apply to that? Because a lot of I hear a lot of parents that are in need and are overwhelmed with the assessment fee and all of the other that are connected to this beautiful what you told us, but there is a need for that. And I don't, from my understanding, not all of the parents know even which path to go in order to reach to that beautiful solution.
Yeah. One of the things that we have that I have noticed to begin with, the assessments, the formal assessments, whether they're done through the school or whether they're done privately, are actually as part of the recommendations listing supportive agencies in order for them, parents, to connect with, who will help navigate the system or the resources that are available. My hope is that this information can also become available and can be a resource for parents to start their process and their journey.
Just adding on to Jen, one thing I always suggest is always start with your classroom teacher. They're going to know that the system first. They're going to be so if it's in class, what they're seeing, right? And sort of if they're seeing those struggles. And then from there, often like they share that conversation with the school CERT, who then might be able to do they start to work on what accommodations can we put in place for the student just to make sure that they're going to be as successful as possible. So, and then from there, we kind of, if we're still seeing struggles from that piece, then we would look to an SNC, which would involve the school principal, as all of it is just sort of that process. But I always say your first point of contact is really going to be that classroom teacher, because again, like you're saying, a lot of our families feel overwhelmed by it. They're very overwhelmed by all the steps, and I would say there's lots of language that comes out of education, especially around special education. So the classroom teachers will have that, and then if you're finding that you haven't got the answers or you haven't been able to connect with the classroom teacher, your school principal will also be able to guide you or at least connect you with that school CERT to kind of guide you through those processes, right? So it really is I always it comes back to the school and kind of connecting with those family or connecting with those staff to start that process. And they would look at where I might introduce that growth plan and what's our goals for this point, right? But we really want to make sure we're doing great classroom practices first. And then we would look at, if we're still seeing some of those concerns, moving that through that process.
And
So
just
my
to
question
add on to that, Tyson, if the absolutely, if the classroom teacher, you connect with them, the special education teacher at the school, you connect with them, the principal, you connect with them, and they're stuck and not sure what to tell a parent because it's complex or for whatever reason, then that's when they reach out to us. And we will then also provide some guidance as well.
So a scenario like a mother that approached me and asked me, where can I get more information, as my son teacher told me that he need to be assessed. So I said, I'm sorry, I don't know anything about that, but maybe it's a good idea to ask the admin. And I asked the secretary, and but so that was a scenario that the teacher told the parents that the parents need to assess their child because they think that I don't know what they
So,
think.
Yeah. I would,
yeah,
in those cases, I would always direct that parent to the school admin,
Which I did.
and that they're going to be the ones who, because you can do in-school assessments too, where it may be a CATIA, it may be that there may be some work that we can do around sort of the U-Fly instruction. We would look at those steps first when we look at the programming side to see what assessments can be done at school. And some of those could be where they do it with the CERT themselves to get a better idea of where they are with their academics and sort of literacy, numeracy skills in those pieces. But that's going to be that conversation where if they're wondering about an assessment, the first conversation would be with the administration.
So again, forgive me for being a little bit to the point. So I'm assuming not a lot of us speak a lot of languages, but think about a mom that is overwhelmed and she doesn't know more than the fact that the teacher told her. So how can we help, as she knows that I'm coach, it doesn't matter, in the committee, and she's asking in her own language. And as I didn't know anything about this issue, I transfer her to the admin. But how can it be a little bit more accessible to it doesn't matter how educated that person can be, but when he doesn't speak the language, and that person actually spoke Arabic, so I help translate, although it's not my mother language, but I speak 6 dialects of that. So I'm trying to emphasize the fact that if a teacher tell the parents that I'm not talking about native Canadian, but the teacher tell the parents that their son, their child need to be assessed. That raise a lot of panic if someone doesn't quite understand what the assessment need to. So maybe there is some kind of I don't know, a one-on-one to give that parents first relax. There's nothing to be, or do you understand what I'm saying? This is what I'm saying. I'm not saying about the whole, maybe you should, because all of you are such an amazing people in your field, maybe you can find a way to make that step be more accessible to parents. And I gave that information because this is what I experienced. That person doesn't speak well English, but even though there is others that are, when you tell them that their child need to be assessed and just send them to the family doctor or whatever, and then if they ask someone, they can. So I'm thinking about maybe there is a way to make, because the whole issue is very sensitive to the parents and the children as well. So how can we, I don't know if PIC can help, but how can we help you help them? I don't know.
My first response to that, and to any parent in that particular situation, would be any parent can ask the school to have an SNC, a special strengths and needs committee meeting. Then it's a collaborative team, and we have access. Every school has access to a translator line, and that way it is fully sussed out in their language in a fulsome way, not just some, like a teacher saying something off the cuff. They can ask their questions and get that information back to them. And then it also does get documented and recorded in their OSR for future reference as well.
Thank you, Jen. Final hand, Catherine?
Thank you.
Thank you. Just really quickly to echo what the others have said, wonderful presentation. Thank you for the information. There was a lot of really helpful stuff, and the resources, amazing. Full disclosure, I am an EA with the Simcoe County Board. I'm like a part-time on-call. So my question kind of relates to that. Is it possible in regular stream classrooms, like outside of like a county classroom or a resource classroom, like those very specified needs sort of situations, is it possible for students to have one-on-one EA support in their IEPs, or is one-on-one support, as I've heard a couple of times throughout my years as an EA, that like, well, we don't really do one-on-one EA support? Does my question make sense?
So absolutely, and so
Okay.
we don't assign students an EA. So for example, I have a student who is medically fragile, and there is a scheduled person who is in that class and works with that student. But when that student is doing something that is independent, or, able to, the EA is able to move away for whatever reason, whatever they're doing, that EA can go and will work with other students in the classroom, and therefore it is shared.
Yep. So I
Tyson,
think
do you want to add anything more to that?
Yeah,
or is
I
that-
was just going to say, we often do it is a shared support model, because there's lots of students with lots of needs that we do have. And what we look at is, our goal is always about fostering independence, right? So we're always working on what things can we do to support the child in developing those skills. And so that then ties back into our IEP, where we start to develop some of those alternative goals. And those alternative goals are then assessed, and we monitor them just to make sure that we're helping that student move forward, right? Because the goal is always going to be around helping that student progress in what skill sets we do see maybe a little bit of there may be a deficit in, or where they need to develop a little bit of those strengths. And so we're always focused on that aspect of it within the classroom setting. So our EA support is always shared because that's one of our overall goals. And we don't want our students to become overly reliant on an individual, right? And because that does happen too. And we want to make sure that we're giving that skill to generalize with different adults in the room and working within the classroom to kind of what are the best accommodations for those students to make sure that they're going to be successful.
Yeah, and that makes complete sense. And by way of language, I recognize that as employees of the board, we have to keep a certain nature to the language that we use to ensure that we're not saying things that we don't mean or saying them in a way that doesn't properly represent the board. But to kind of echo what Rachel is saying in the way that we create like accessibility with what we're saying, in my experience with talking to some parents, like in my role as an EA and just kind of like as a parent with friends that are parents, I wonder if there's a way that we can create language that's more understandable for some parents, because there are a number of parents who have the idea that if their student needs an EA, they have an EA, that is their student's EA, that's their child's EA, or that EA is always in the classroom. Even if it's shared support, they're always there. And I wonder if there's a way that we could like kind of broaden that language, or just make it broaden it but specify it. You know what I mean? Do all of the things all at once with the words. If you could, it'd be great. To just help parents understand more what shared support means and like what that could actually look like for their student in a specific way, so that they're not under the understanding or misunderstanding that they're going to have an EA with their child, where there will be times that they won't have it. Is that?
Yeah, I
Makes
think
sense.
that like
Okay.
what your point around language makes a lot of sense, and that's always something we can. I will take that back to our team and look at how do we always sort of go into what Rachel is saying. How do we make things more accessible for everyone too, right? As how do we bring that make the language accessible for all of our families, and like understanding what that language means for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Even like in our
Catherine.
roles, like we throw around a lot of like acronyms a lot, just by nature. And I think just remembering to slow down sometimes and remember that we don't all speak like special education language, and to use like the actual terms that they are, so we're understanding more what that is. So, but thank you again for your lovely information.
Thank you, Catherine. Final hand again. Ken, go ahead, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Again, thank you for the presentation. Great information. Again, it's important to get that information out. As Catherine said, the language can be overwhelming, and I can imagine young dads really something they don't want to talk about with their friends and neighbors. But it's how to try and find a way how that first step in this journey could be made as stress-free as possible. Because once you get in, great things can happen, but it's overcoming those obstacles at that first step. That's something I want to be committed to finding or helping with a solution for that. So thanks again for the presentation.
And you know what, Ken, that's great. Like, I think that's always our goal, is trying to connect within the school. And one of the things I just want to highlight too, that we are trying to do a better job, is also creating videos of sort of the presentations and contents that we're working on. So then our families can go to it at their convenience too. So though I know we have one that is posted on our website, but we're slowly working through that piece to make sure that parents, like, we're in a YouTube generation sort of piece. I kind of use as the example, but there's videos that now are kind of being available so that parents maybe aren't able to attend this meeting, but they can pull that information at that point.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Tyson. Thank you so much, Jen, for being here with us tonight. It's a wealth of information. Thank you all. Moving along, next item on our agenda for this evening's meeting, mental health and well-being update. Mental health and Wellness will be a standing item on our agendas moving forward. Please bring any question to our meetings where we will have someone from the Mental Health and Wellbeing Department. Please welcome SCDSB Wellbeing Facilitator Lee Monroe and Deb Shackle.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hope everybody's doing well tonight. Thanks for having us. We're really honored to be here this evening. Just making sure everything works. So my name's Lee Morrow. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm a wellbeing facilitator in the Mental Health and Wellbeing Department. And my background is in the secondary panel, but my role supports kindergarten through grade 12.
Hi there, Deb Shackle here, and I'm an elementary educator on the team. And this is my first year in the role, but not my first year working in mental health. I've done some work provincially at the ministry and with School Mental Health Ontario. And it's fun now to be at the board and see it in action in the hands of students and teachers. So likely, Lee and I are both moms, and so we're really excited to be here because we value the important perspective and influence that parents and caregivers can bring to our school communities. That's really a big part of having a mentally healthy learning environment. So we're here today to talk about one of our favorite parts of our role, which is empowering students to be leaders. I'm going to pass it over to Lee to describe a little bit about that work.
So we are kind of the leads of a program called our Student Mental Health Ambassadors, which this is the second year running for this particular program. It was kind of spearheaded by the people who held this position before us. Louise Pike was the one that really started it, but we've carried it on this year. And it starts off in the fall with a symposium. So we invited teams from every elementary school and every secondary school. So elementary teams were made up of 2 students and 1 teacher, and the secondary teams were made up of 2 teachers and 3 students from all of the secondary schools, including Simcoe Shores, which had a team that they had chosen based on several different locations and interest from staff. We also invited our CYWs, social workers, and a lot of support people that work in multiple departments to support us in this learning. And this year's students learned, they had a keynote speaker by one of our Indigenous knowledge holders or knowledge keepers. Looking at the medicine wheel, you see a picture of it there. Students did some work surrounding looking at what different people based on their age would need in a healthy, thriving community. We had a session on stress and stress strategies led by some of our CYWs and our diversity, equity, inclusion coaches and teachers, as well as a session on belonging. Our outdoor ed crew, which you see in the picture there, did some activities on leadership and connecting with nature. And we ran some sessions on collaborative art and the power of kind of feeling that belonging based on creating something together. And then we gave the teams some time for planning in terms of activities or initiatives that they might want to do in their schools. And we have a video to show you from the event. So we'll play that. This is from communications. So please shout at me if the audio doesn't work. Hopefully it does.
We're excited to have our mental health student ambassadors for our 2025 symposium to support mental health initiatives in our schools.
This learning is structured around the identity affirming framework and the student engagement framework, which has students as leaders in their schools. This year, we started off with a keynote presentation to ground our students with a knowledge of the medicine wheel and some of the traditional teachings of Indigenous culture. We have sessions with the outdoor education team. The diversity, equity, inclusion team is also providing us some learning about belonging. And then we have sessions on stress and coping strategies, as well as some collaborative art stations. Our elementary mental health and well-being students are ambassadors in their schools, and we have our secondary school students acting as leaders for their learning as well.
but I think it's really important to learn about mental health and to understand what mental health is. We have a mental health group at our school, and I think that it's important to take the information that I learned here and talk about the strategies and what everybody goes through in that group so people know what to do.
Something we learned here is just how much community matters.
If you notice that someone isn't feeling well, simply just ask, do you want space or do you want to talk? It gives them that choice to push out their feelings in their own terms.
We're hoping that the students are going to use this learning and take it back to their schools to really create that sense of safety in their schools and a belonging for all students.
To find out what mental health and well-being initiatives are happening at your school, contact your school's ambassadors.
Stay connected with us. For the latest news, information, and videos from across the SCDSB, follow us on social media.
I just smile every time I see all those students being so proud and so excited for leading initiatives in their schools. So I'm going to turn it over to Deb.
It is such a treat to watch it. We've watched it many times, and every time I enjoy it. So the good news is that the momentum continues. So we have that in-person event to sort of get the ball rolling. And then throughout the school year, we do have some mechanisms for communication. And one of them is a shared folder where schools put photographs of what they're doing back at their schools. So we've decided to share some of those photos so you can see what it looks like now that they've gone back to their school and are starting to action the items. So this picture shows some planning. And we did encourage students to generate both now, wow, and how ideas. So now ideas are the ones that they felt like they could do right away. And those are the, easy access, don't require a lot of funding, but also to dream big, because hopefully they'll be involved in this planning for a period of time that over time they can think about different ways that they can make change. And then this next slide just shows we modeled some activities at that in-person event. And so then when we saw photos in the folder of it happening back at their schools and then putting their own spin on it, incorporating in ways that are meaningful for the students that are there, was really exciting. And we did share some resources. You'll see on the left-hand side, those little feelings flashcards. That's something that we've talked about a lot this year. And then it's, again, fun to see how different schools action it in different ways, not just for students either, also for staff members at the school, because everyone has mental health. And I just want to give a shout out to the teachers who are the champions alongside students, because something we try to talk about is putting the leadership in the students' hands. And sometimes that's hard for adults to take the back seat. But they do a lot of things behind the scenes to help make things happen, especially with our younger students. So you can see there are a couple of teachers taking a role to support students with their ideas. I guess this is still me. On the left-hand side is our strategy circle, and that's a resource that we've been sharing for the last couple of years. And it's just an example. A teacher asked for ideas to be generated by students. We know that as teachers, we have things to teach, but we also have things to learn. We welcome students to bring forward the strategies they already know from their family, from their culture, from their religion. And this mental health and well-being group decided to make it a visual way and to invite the rest of the school into participating, sharing their ideas.
It was really heartwarming after the elementary symposium that was in September. I went to my child's school three school days later and saw one of the activities that we had run at the symposium come to life in such a short time. And that was this activity on belonging. So our DEI department led this, and they had a map, and they prompted students in our symposium to put a pin on the map with where you connect to. So it could have been somewhere that You connect with through travel, through where you were born or where your family's from, all kinds of different ways. And it was in the school that my kids went to, so that was really exciting. And we've had a number of schools take on this initiative. The secondary school, sorry, there's like children having I don't know, a dance party or something upstairs. They're stomping. But the secondary school ambassadors actually said that they wanted a map. And so we actually then were able to provide all the secondary schools with a map to do the same activity. And then the last piece that we kind of wanted to share was the secondary school ambassadors have the opportunity to earn a credit for their work in their schools. And that's the GPP 3.0, which is the grade 11 peer leadership and support credit. And we did this last year as well. So 10 students last year earned this credit. And it's run through kind of like a portfolio system. So technically I'm the teacher, but they collect evidence of their work in schools in terms of supporting students, being a leader, being an ambassador, creating leadership opportunities for others, and helping their schools to to have well-being initiatives. So some of the work that the students did last year was really amazing. They did a prom prep. They had sessions on test or exam stress. They connected with some of their parent evenings, providing resources. They ran well-being and fun activities in their schools. They ran wellness fairs. It was really amazing to see. So this year we have 13 students initially that are interested in the credit. So hopefully I can report back at some point that they have all fulfilled their requirements. And I think that brings us to a close on this particular initiative on our student well-being in it ambassadors. So thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Deb and Lee, for that informative session. It's very crucial for us to be aware of what's happening within our school, our well-being, and it's amazing that our students are taking that initiative to spread the word on what's important. And something as simple as at my kiddos' school this week and the week to come is that they're having 15 minutes just before their exam. It's exam week, it's culminating task, and just that 15 minutes just to sigh a breath of relief, just to calm themselves down, to settle their mind, because their anxiety is through the roof. Who knows what's going on in their mind? Did they forget their review sheet at home or whatever it is? But just having that moment, that 15 minutes just to reset their mind and their body, along with a welcoming cup of hot chocolate. So that's the icing on the cake at one of my kiddos' schools. So I thank you so much for sharing that information with us, and how it's propelling our students to want to do more within their school and community. At this time, do we have any question for Deb and Lee before we say goodbye and thank them? Sydney?
Yeah, just a quick question. That's so cool. That credit thing, like I wish they had that when I was in school. That's neat. I would wonder, like, how does someone show that they want to do that? Like, is that just a choice option when they pick their classes? They can choose that?
This opportunity was initially provided through like a numbered memo. So it came to principals to select a teacher and students to participate. And the selection was intentional for students that might not typically be selected for leadership opportunities, and that had a keen interest in mental health. And we also wanted a diverse representation, so maybe not picking the kids that are always involved in leadership opportunities. So last year we offered the credit to students who had attended. Last year's symposium was 4 days over the summer. This year's symposium was 1 day in September. So we offered the credit to any student that had participated in any of the learning days at the Education Center. And we'll see what kind of it evolves into next year, but that credit is also available in schools, and different schools will run that in different ways. So you might have like an outdoor education class that also runs that. Some schools run it as like peer tutoring, where they help another classroom. So this particular credit is just focused for those students that have participated in this in this opportunity.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Debbie? Where did Debbie go?
Yeah.
I'm here.
I was going to say last week I was at a school tour. I think it was a grade 6 class, and I believe, I don't know if it was the students and the teacher, but they had in the back corner like little signs that you could fill out. It said "Gotcha," being a leader, being kind, being awesome, or doing your best. And then you had to write a little blurb, and the teacher or the other students could fill it out, and then they put it up on the board. And then every Friday they cleared it up so that the kids could bring it home and put it on their fridge. They were super excited about that program and how it was being run. The kids were so excited that someone caught them being nice or something. And I thought that was like a really good initiative. And then they were also telling me that they always do daily compliments, but it's not like, oh, you're wearing a nice shirt today, but you had to really actually compliment the person, saying, oh, you were really kind, or I noticed that you picked up a pencil and helped somebody. And that was giving the students like a huge opportunity to give compliments and receive compliments, because they find that's very lacking. And mental health, like the kids seem to really embrace what was going on in the classroom. So I just wanted to say, I see the work in the classrooms as going around and visiting, and it's great to see the work that is being done and how the kids are embracing it.
Thank you, Debbie. If there is no further question, thank you so much again, Deb. And oh my gosh, and Lee. You know
Thanks so
which
much
side
for
of the
having
brain
us.
that was. You know which side of the brain that was. Thank you so much for being with us this evening. Thank you for your time.
Bye-bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Moving along. Oh my gosh. I just lost my notes as well. That's too funny. Pick update. So we have a new member with us this evening. Please help me welcome Ken Ciarto is the newest PIC representative for the Natassawaga Pine family of school. Ken, would you like to take this time to introduce yourself and share a little? You've been talking a lot already. You're muted, Ken. Ken, you're muted.
Yes, I'm retired, so I don't use this all the time.
You're allowed.
Great. Well, thank you for the warm welcoming. My name's Ken Ciarto. I want to thank the board for the appointment at Nottawasaga Pines. I look forward to getting to know the PIC members. A little bit about me. I'm a product of the Simcoe County Board of Education. I started my journey in the late 60s at Oakley Park, and in the early 80s I graduated from Eastview Secondary School in Barrie. I'm an Army brat. I was born overseas. I spent my middle school years in Renfrew County. My dad was at Petawawa. My working background was in automotive and logistics, quality systems. I had the luxury of, when I finally did retire, to be a stay-at-home dad for my two boys. Both of my sons, they benefited from special education resources provided for the board. That's why I am a big vocal champion for everything special education programming and resources by the board. Again, I'm like everyone here. We all understand the importance of the work we do, and I look forward to getting great things done in the years ahead. So thank you very much.
You're welcome, Ken. Thank you so much for being a part of PIC. Buckle up, you're in for a bumpy ride, but it's a good one. And we look forward to having your voice at the table. Thank you again. So as we move along, Concerning PIC update, a huge one that's been on the table is the pro grant application. There's been lots of talk around the pro grant application, what type of speaker to come in, that sort of thing, the presenter, and so on. And one of the I've been encouraging a lot of the family of schools to do a survey to tap into their school environment to inquire of the needs of the school environment, because I cannot recommend a specific topic or a speaker for your school community because we're not a part of your school community. We don't know the needs. And so I will continue to encourage each and every one of you as you speak with your family of school. I found that the easiest thing for us to do, because something that we did recently at one of our school, is to do a survey just to find out with a few items, topics, needs of the community, what parents would like to hear about, because we don't want to speak for other parents. We don't want to assume that they want to hear about mental health and well-being. We don't want to, we don't want to assume for our parents. And we find that one of the other big challenges that sometimes we have new members that's taken over the school council chair position. And so they're unfamiliar with the information, and it's our duty and responsibility to steer them in the right direction. That's why I encourage each and every one of you to stay connected as much as possible with your family of schools so they don't feel overwhelmed, and that we are not strangers to them. We are literally a click away. And so we will do our best to support them in whatever area of needs. And if I am unable to provide you with a definite answer, I will then turn it over to Kim or Susan, who will promptly respond, and then I will share that piece of information with you. So whatever you do, please encourage your schools to continue to stay connected. Tap into your school environment. Sometimes we do have new administrators from different school boards who are unfamiliar. We also encourage that our school council chair utilize their bylaws, that trusty old binder. There is everything in there that is needed to run a effective school council. And so, are there any updates from anyone's school? Anything that you would like to share? Any concerns? No? Oh, so you guys are doing an awesome job then. Huh? Huh. So I won't receive an email tomorrow morning asking of any question. Oh boy, you guys are the best. See, I know we're part of the best committee because nobody have any questions, and your schools are flowing quite well. So I look forward to the update after the presenters, have presented their information to the school community. So there's going to be lots of raves about all the amazing things that's happening in your school community. Okay, that's fine. So we'll move on to our staff, our connection night. Oops, before I move along, Ken, go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm gonna avail of this opportunity.
Go for it, Ken.
This is for my boys' high school, Twin Lakes in Aurelia, and we're gonna have this May. This is our third year on the theme of food insecurity. We call it our seedy plant event. It's a great opportunity for the kids in the hospitality program at Twin Lakes to showcase what they do. They have a commercial kitchen, and it's basically, we have, patio garden ideas. Twin Lakes, I was surprised to find out we have bees on the roof. So we have a beekeeper come in. So it's well attended. And we also partner with Lakehead University. There is a PhD student in education who is really pushing food and nutrition education and how to incorporate that in the curriculum for both elementary and secondary schools. So I believe it's May 28th. So if you're in Aurelia, hope you can join us. Thank
you so much, Ken, for that update. And so, as we hear about all the amazing updates that's happening within our school environment, which brings us to our connection night, to Connection 2.0. This will be on April the 28th. It will be virtual. We're focusing on cybersecurity, how digital safety impact family lives, and emotional well-being. The presenter will be Eureka Job, same presenter as last year. And we are waiting to, no, I can't say that. We're not waiting to hear back tomorrow. We'll be meeting with the OPP to go over his information that he will be potentially presenting at our Connections night as well. Susan, did you wish to chime in concerning our connection night based on the communication we've been having concerning Eureka's information that she shared with us?
So I can share that we have been going back and forth with Eureka and really looking at the cybersecurity piece because it is front and center right now. There are a number of, as you know, you can read in the news, school boards are in fact getting attacked and accounts have been compromised. Knock on wood, not us. And again, really letting students know it's scary out there what AI now can do. And a perfect example, as a superintendent of IT, every once in a while I do look at the different things that our students are doing. And I did take a photo, my badge photo, and I used that and I asked AI to help me make it speak. And it did. And so we have a picture of me from, not that long ago, even though this photo was taken not that long ago, when I still had black hair. It did speak and it had facial movements, it had eye movements, it had, body movements, and yet I can tell you this, it really was a photo. So, if I can do this and I'm not as technically inclined as that, our kids are, because they're smart. They're really brilliant when it comes to technology. That being said, sometimes they forget and they click on things and they don't forget. I mean, they forget to read. They skim through things so quickly, and it's just that slight little, the word or the slight little apostrophe that's not in the right place, and they click on the link, and we've now encountered a cyber compromise to their account. So, it is important that our kids, our families, our parents know about cybersecurity, identity. And so getting Eureka here to talk about, and she has talked about digital safety. And part of her talk will also be about, emotional support with our kids and what happens when something goes wrong. So that is what she will engage with. We are looking at, and with Ken's suggestion, OPP, and they deal with a lot of cyber attacks, hacks, fraud, ransomware, and really hoping that, as OPP is part of our community, and really hoping that they can come and present some information about, prevention, intervention, and so prevention, but also intervention as parents, and what can we do to support our kids. So hopefully we will be meeting with OPB tomorrow, and having our conversations, and then moving forward with that virtual presentation on April 28th.
Thank you, Susan. Catherine, you have a question for Susan? Or your hand just went up?
No. I just wanted to say something about the OPP thing. So we had and two OPP officers come to our school last year. We organized it as a school council to speak to parents about internet safety and like online presence essentially with kids. And it was, as parents, we're pretty informed about like myself and my partner as parents, we are pretty informed ourselves about like internet safety and kind of that stuff. And we learned a lot from them that night in regards to like laws and what isn't a law and what should be a law, and kind of like all of the hot topic things that kids are doing and how it's like how it's processed through like, the judicial system. So it would be really cool to get the OPP involved in this because there's a lot of things that are very specific in particular that we kind of understand the broadness of, but we don't really understand like exactly how it operates. Like he kind of walked us through like what happens if a student is like distributing pictures of their classmates that should not be distributed, and like what that process actually looks like from start to finish, and how basically the entire family's electronics get seized at the door, sort of idea. So it was a really eye-opening information session that, yeah, I think everybody should have the chance to listen to. So I'm really happy that we're doing that.
Thank you, Catherine. And we are certainly looking forward to our conversation tomorrow with the OPP officer. Sydney, you had a question?
Yeah, just a logistics question about the event. So is also Debbie, I love that your cat is there. um, is it going to be that we are inviting anyone to join online to hear it? Like, and it's not just chairs, like are parents of any of schools invited? How does that work? Sorry, I missed the meeting about it, but
That's fine. Susan, are we opening it to broader than the Simcoe County, or is it for the Simcoe County parents, or all parents are welcome?
So normally Connections is for Simcoe County parents. That being said, there have been times where there have been others from other locations that have joined us, and we're inclusive, so we don't tend to kick anybody out.
Because we're amazing.
I say one
We're
thing.
amazing.
We're amazing.
Just on the point of us being amazing, other school boards reach out to us. I just want to let you guys know this. Other school boards reach out to us to ask me about what our PIC does and how we are engaging so many parents and what we do, because we do have such an influx of engagement in all of our events. So I just want to say that other school boards reach out to us because they want to know how we do everything that we do.
So I can share that for Connections, I don't want to call them imposters. They are parents, but we did have some from our other local boards join us at our Connections evening, and they picked out quite a bit of material to bring back to their schools that are not our schools. And all are welcome.
All are welcome, Susan, and we're going to leave it at that. And I'm going to hashtag we're amazing. Did you have another question, Catherine, or your hand is just up?
Yeah, sorry, just to re-clarify that, because I know our in-person pick thing, we were inviting chairs, right? That wasn't like open to any parent. So is the 2.0 open to anybody, even if they're not part of their school council? It's just like a pre-register, whoever, based on the like however many our system can hold or support, I think. Like how many attendees can we support virtually?
Kim?
So our Connections event is not just for chairs, it's for school council members. So it's a school council member orientation. It's ministry mandated that we have that every year, and we just go big. But for Connections 2.0, we've always invited all parents of Scudsby, and that's where we're going. It's just all parents. Other people do sit in, but now Jamie has something.
I don't know how I got two hands up, but I was just going to say it's still a little early, but we'll be putting together a communications plan and we'll be sharing all the information about it. You'll see it on our social media, in your monthly school newsletter package, and on our website too.
Thank you, Jamie. As we move along to board update, trustee update. Trustee Connor, do you have an update to share with us this evening?
I do kind of.
Kind of?
Yeah, Liz and I are back.
Yay!
Yay!
And
We
she
put
left
in
you
our
alone
committee.
tonight.
Every year they change us in December and January. We start our new committees. We get to pick which ones we want to be on, and then they kind of put us on some. So I got to keep two, and I got two new ones. So this is one of the ones that I wanted to keep. It was my number one. I'm not sure about Liz's order, but just saying.
Just saying.
So we had our business, we went over the business and they updated the pupil accommodation review, the conflict of interest review, and our budget timelines. So that's always fun. So we break our budget down in little segments so we're not overwhelmed. So we had a little chart on when those meetings would be. And then last week we had our graduation rates, our 4 and 5 year graduation rates, which are really great. I think they were around 85%. I do know that there's been a lot of interest in like 6, 7, 8 year graduation rates for our kiddos that are in that do take longer. And I do believe they are sharing those numbers at SEAC, they said. For those kids, because it doesn't matter when you graduate, it matters that you graduated. So if it takes you 4, 5, 6 or whatever, so we're happy with those numbers. And then the health unit came in and they went over with the our partnership with the health unit and what they've been working on together. And all those stats and numbers would also be in the minutes that if you wanted to look at those. But it's always great having that good partnership with the health unit. So yeah, and that's it. That's because we just started. It's just January. So
thank you. And
no problem.
Back.
Thank
We're
you.
happy to have you again. Moving along to our superintendent update. Susan?
Thank you. We will be recognizing and celebrating February. It's Black History Month. It's a time to celebrate Black culture, history, and applaud the achievement and significant contributions of Black Canadians as they've made and helped build Canada. Every February, students are invited to participate in learning opportunities, festivities, and events that honor the legacy of Black Canadians, past and present. Though we recognize that indeed the realities of people of African descent needs to be reflected in school experiences all year round and not just in February. The month of February does provide a special time for focused reflection on lived experiences of Black people, past and present. Finally, we are going to be having our student trustee elections for the 2026-2027 school year on February 23rd. So that is the Tuesday before our meeting. And once the candidates have been elected, their names will be announced at board. And student trustees are elected annually, and they bring student voice to the board table. And that's all I have today.
That's it, Susan?
This time.
Okay.
Just trying to save what I've got left.
Well, sweet and straight to the point. Thank you so much for that update. And this time we will be having Principal Cook with the elementary update, followed by Principal Pino with the secondary update.
Great. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Perfect. Thanks. I hope everyone's staying warm on these chilly winter days we've been having. Certainly was frosty out there today. So elementary updates. During the month of December, many schools held a variety of holiday events, and holiday markets. These included opportunities for families to connect with their school community and celebrate the many traditions that occur throughout that month. This month, the online applications for grade 1 French immersion for the 2026-27 school year was open, that was open between December 1st and 12th, with entry determined through digital lottery. This month, kindergarten registration continues to remain open, and elementary schools are beginning to plan their Welcome to Kindergarten orientation nights that typically happen in the spring. These events should be posted soon on the SCDSB website if you're looking for when your school's hosting their particular Welcome to Kindergarten night. Grade 8 transition visits with high schools are continuing in elementary schools. So, for example, our elementary student success teachers and our secondary student success teachers are continuing to visit elementary schools to share information for next year, and course selection for grade 8s are continuing to occur as well. The nomination period for our character recognition awards evening that's happening sorry, Susan, I don't have the exact date in front of me. I think it's in May. The nomination period is open now from January 6th to February 28th. And so in elementary schools, most continue to celebrate and acknowledge our character attributes. And so that'll be an opportunity in May for us to nominate students, volunteers, and staff who have exemplified our SCDSB character traits. We also, many schools are highlighting or spotlighting Family Literacy Day that's coming up on January 27th. It's recognized board-wide to encourage daily reading and literacy activities at home and school. And as I said, many elementary schools are planning special activities that day to highlight it. Teachers are currently working on reporting and assessment for Term 1 report cards, which will be a focus on the upcoming PA Day on January 30th in elementary schools. And as Susan mentioned, students and teachers have also started to prepare to celebrate Black Excellence in History and also Asian Heritage Month in February, as well as the Lunar New Year, adding to the learning that has already been done this year. In terms of elementary sports, intermediate boys volleyball, intermediate girls basketball, and junior girls and boys volleyball have wrapped up. And intermediate boys basketball and intermediate girls volleyball have begun with zones and regional tournaments, which will take place throughout the month of February and conclude with the county tournament at the beginning of March. And that's all I have for elementary updates.
Thank you so much, Principal Cook. Is
Thanks.
Principal Pino with us tonight for the secondary report?
I am, Melissa. Thank you for introducing me. Hopefully everyone can see me.
No. Oh, there you are.
Okay, perfect. So thank you and good evening, everyone. So some updates from secondary from a system perspective. Throughout the last few months, our secondary schools have invited students from grade 8 to visit the school to experience a day in the life of a secondary student. And so we're continuing with that throughout the next few weeks. We also, as a school board, hosted a first annual Ignite Your Future evening in November to help some students and families to discover and navigate different pathways. This was a collaboration between Student Achievement, our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Department, as well as our Indigenous Department. So we had some panelists who discussed from different careers, discussing their pathway and their journeys for students. We also had two sessions. One was navigating My Blueprint, and another one was geared toward Ontario student loans and the application process to support families. It wasn't great weather, but we had a great turnout. and I think it went really well for our first event, and so we were looking to planning one again for next year, but we are looking to perhaps host that earlier in the season so we don't have to worry about any snow issues. We also in November had our fall Ontario Secondary School literacy test written, and so students have completed that. They will also have a second opportunity in the spring. And we are now also just wrapping up our grade 9 students have completed their grade 9 EQAO test for math. And so that is all completed for students who have math this semester. And like Melissa mentioned, tomorrow we start culminating tasks. So we have 4 days of culminating task days, followed by 3 feedback, recovery, and improvement days. And that will wrap up the semester, and semester 2 will commence on February 2nd.
Thank you so much for that update. And I am just going to chime in for a little bit on the Ignite Youth, that Black Excellent Night. It was absolutely phenomenal. The weather was poor. I was decided whether or not I wanted to park my vehicle and take a Uber home that night, but I would do it all over again. My only drawback is that I feel like we could have opened up the capacity to host more parents. I feel like there are parents who wanted to be there, but there was a cap. I'm not sure if that's because of the guidelines of how many parents are allotted within the building. During the certain time period, as to the reason why we weren't able to extend the invitation a little bit further than the capacity that we had there. My hopes is that we provide a bit more information for university students. So even though we had a booth that designated to university student, it just wasn't enough, and to share all the different pathways that's available to all students. The panelists could have been a little bit more broader than what we had there, to go a little bit more in depth when it came down to Black excellence and the steps that's required for a student. I know it was our first time. We did a phenomenal job. So I am looking forward to the next symposium. Actually, yeah, I am. I have 5 children. Yes. One graduated. Yes. So I can still attend. I'm looking forward to it. And I know we're going to take the feedback that we've received right across the board, and we're just going to make it bigger and better for all our students. So thank you again. Thank you again for that update. It was a great night, besides where I wanted to park my vehicle somewhere and figure out another way home. So maybe early on in the year, but because we have no control over the weather. So that was the only downside to it. But besides that, it was well attended, well executed, with few minor tweaks here or there. Thank you so much.
I appreciate your feedback, Melissa, and we took feedback from a lot of different families who attended, and so we are back at work to make some of those adjustments. We do know that we will be, the plan is to run it out of a high school for next year, so we have more space. So it was really just came down to space in the Roy Edwards room. So being at the first one, we didn't know how well received it would be. It ended up actually working out that the weather wasn't great, because I think we would have been in trouble with the space.
Yes.
So we will look to run that out of a school. And we did actually have, and we will continue to invite, we had some representatives from different universities across Ontario, but they couldn't make it due to weather. So we're hoping that if we move it to October, that will obviously improve. So, but thank you for your feedback, and we're looking forward to another event next year.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. As we move along, we are at our social media highlights. Jamie Campbell, Assistant Manager of Communication, will share our social media highlights for tonight.
Thank you, Melissa.
You're
For our
welcome.
newer members and our newest member, Ken, just as a reminder, this is the section where I do a review, kind of a high-level review of what we talked about in the meeting. And this is what I'll end up posting on the school board social media. And the ask is that if anyone's on social media, they can go on in there and like and share that post as well, just to kind of get that out to your network. So tonight's update says the SCDSB's Parent Involvement Committee met tonight. Here are some highlights from the meeting. The committee received a presentation from Jennifer French, consultant, special education, about individual education plans. Lee Morrow and Deb Shackle, well-being facilitators, shared information about the SCDSB's Student Mental Health and Wellbeing Ambassador Program. Save the date. The Parent Involvement Committee will host a virtual information session for all SCDSB parents and guardians on April 28th. More details will be shared on the SCDSB website. School council chairs are encouraged to log into their school council email account. A new update from your PIC representative will be shared in the coming days. The next regularly scheduled PIC meeting will take place on February 24th.
Thank you, Jamie.
No worries. And then just another quick reminder. So the one point about the email to the chairs, that's the PIC highlights email that I send. So that ends up going to all PIC members. And the ask is that you send that email to your chairs. So that will be coming out soon. Thank you.
Yes, for sure. And it's a great opportunity also for you to connect with your family of schools when you send out that piece of information.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving along, are there any other matters from members? No other matters? We don't want to talk about anything else? Okay, we're all
I would
tired.
like to ask a question, if it's possible.
Go ahead, Rachel.
I want to know what's the I don't know how to put it, but I see that we are talking about very important subject, and I don't know what's the, because I didn't hear anything about bullying from any kind of I don't
The
know,
presenters?
boards.
The
No, not from the presenter. I'm just thinking about we sometimes mental health is important in so many level. It goes beyond just we never know what's the cause of need of mental health, but I think sometimes it seems like we are rushing to solve some symptoms, and we are not touching in some of the root cause of problem. I feel like it's a neglected subject lately, and I don't see any kind of acknowledgement from Simcoe County about bullying. Bullying can come in different kind of form, method, and can be, as you all know, can be verbal, can be physical, can be any kind, and it can start also in kindergarten and continue for high school. So I love what the two presenter about the mental health ambassador, which is beautiful, but you don't need to read in between the line, but sometimes the cause for some of our children mental health issues are because of bullying. So I would like to hear if there is any kind of plan how to address that, if there is.
Susan?
I am going to start by answering that. So Rachel, every year, our school principals and part of our Safe and Welcoming Schools, we do have an anti-bullying plan. So principals develop the anti-bullying plan, and along with their staff, sometimes it is about bringing in PD for staff. Sometimes it's bringing in speakers for students. Perhaps it is having some clubs for students, and I'm going to let each of the principals, because and you're absolutely right, there are different things that are done in the secondary panel as well as the elementary panel. And so I'm going to let them talk about what is done at each of the panels. But we do have an anti-bullying plan that principals do complete year over year.
Sure. Should I start, Susan? I'll start with elementary. Sure. So great question. As Susan mentioned, we have an anti-bullying plan that gets updated every year. I know in my school in particular, we try to involve a variety of voices. So that it's not just teachers, it may be educational assistants, parents, student voice. Sometimes we collaborate with our public health nurses that support our schools to make sure that we are collaborating together to make sure that our bully prevention plans are in place. That bully prevention plan, your school councils, I'm sure you can ask your principals to see that. I do share that at my school council meeting at the beginning of the year. So they have an understanding of our different roles and responsibilities and the initiatives that we have planned. Some ways that we address bullying, well, all year long are through our character attributes or character education initiatives. So monthly celebrations, we talk about there's in class professional development, or sorry, in class resources for students and teachers. We access School Mental Health Ontario quite a bit. There are lessons there, Rachel, that we draw on to support our students. This week, actually on Thursday, is Bell Let's Talk Day. So we are highlighting resources for students, Kids Help Phone, community resources, how to make a report if they're feeling bullied. So we advertise through our school weekly newsletters or monthly newsletters, depending how your school communicates that information, school websites of where the kids can access that help. So those are some of the ways, but it is a pretty comprehensive plan that gets reviewed throughout the year. Of course, there are monthly initiatives. I know in April we have Pink Shirt Day and different initiatives throughout the year, but really we are addressing that every month. I don't know, Jason, at the secondary level, if you have some examples, maybe.
Well, Lindsay, I think you covered it all there. So that was very thorough. Another thing I can add is we do in our schools make an effort to ensure that all students have a caring adult that makes that connection with a student to ensure, because we know obviously when students are being bullied, if it's happening and no one is seeing it, we really need to make sure that that student feels comfortable going to an adult in the building to share that that's happening. And so that relationship is key. So we make sure that our students have a caring adult so that we can facilitate that for those students. But I think Lindsay did a great job. This is something that we do through activities, assemblies, many different ways throughout the year. And that, like Lindsay said, that plan continues to evolve every year that we completed as a school team.
Thank you so much. I wasn't aware that there is a plan, and just I have a wonderful school. Both of the school that my children goes, like Simcoe Public School and Nentar. But it's great to hear from both of you, because I've been asked by neighbors, by families that been through bullying, and it's like a roof for a lot of unkind behavior. Sometimes it's race behavior that my neighbors came from a different country, and because I drove their daughter to Nantyre, I realized that she's been bullied because of her skin color. So as a parent, before I was a co-chair, because they didn't say anything, so that's why I'm asking if maybe we can do a little bit more, maybe us as PIC, if you can think about something that we can add, something that we can help, because at the end of the day, we are here to support the community, and just use us as a tool for whatever you think we can help, because we see a lot of bullying.
Thanks, Rachel.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
If I could just add on, Rachel, As I mentioned, there's also some, I mean, maybe it's about sharing at your school council meeting some of the resources that are out there as well. So, you know, I mentioned Bell Let's Talk Day that's coming up this week because it's timely. There's a plethora of resources, parent resources on those websites as well as School Mental Health Ontario. There's resources for educators, but then there's also targeted resources for families. So often I will direct parents to some suggestions there, how to talk to your students, and you know, as Jason mentioned, connecting them with caring adults at the school or community resources to give them a voice or empower them that way. So certainly that information is there. That could be something that as a PIC rep you brought back to your school council or or maybe ask your principal to speak with the well-being team at that particular school in terms of what resources they have available there.
Thank you so much. Will do. Appreciate that.
And Rachel, and to all the PIC representative, at any time any matter was not discussed or we did not have adequate time to go in depth, please reach out. We're happy to share whatever resources we have. It's there. There's always a plan. But unfortunately, sometimes we just can't have everyone within the meeting and the time does not permit. And I'm also trying to be respectful, mindful of each other's time within the day because you guys have families and other things that you care for. So if you get off this meeting and you remember something, please just send us an email and I am happy to get the answer or resource for you. And that goes for all PIC representative. I see Ken, you have a question for us?
Well, I'm just wondering, I had some more member updates, but must have been dozing off a little bit. I wonder if I'd have an opportunity to go back and say a few words.
Go ahead, Ken. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So, being January, it's a grade 8 visit month in the board. So last week I attended 2 grade 8 events, one at Nottawasaga Pines, my PIC assignment, and my kids' Twin Lakes. Both events were very well attended. I spoke with board staff, school principals, school council chairs, and teachers from the programs Indigenous Studies, Phys Ed, Hospitality, Cosmology, Drama, and Music. These were the events or the programs that there was great interest by both students and kids, which is great to see. These technology programs, that's where our kids want to go. The personnel, board staff in the OYAP and the Shazam, they had a busy night again, which was great to see. And finally, I'd want to give a big shout out to the school. I know at Twin, they're the Link Squad. I'm not quite sure if that's across the board, but they did an amazing job helping to get families moved around the school campuses. And one more, I guess we have in February, we have 3 math nights at, I guess, in the northern end of the board. February 17th at Nottawa Elementary School, 4:15 to 6. February 19th at Tay Shores Public School in Midland, 4:15 to 6. And at Aurelia Lions Oval on February 24th, 3:45 to 5:30. So these are really good events, and I believe we spent some money to support them. So hopefully we can get the families to head out. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
You're welcome, Ken, and thank you so much for that thorough update. Catherine, update or comment or question?
Yes. Just really quick, to go back to what Rachel was saying, about, and actually what Lindsay had mentioned about the principal's bullying prevention plans. Excuse me. At our school, like where my children go, we have a really great relationship with our principal. She is she's phenomenal. She provides a lot of information to the school councils. Like anything we ask
she's really open with it. I didn't even know that principals did that. Like this isn't something that we've discussed at our council meetings before. So I think even just inviting like the council chairs to ask principals about this, if they haven't already shared with their school councils, it might just be one of those things that principals, you guys have so much on your plates, especially if you are a solo principal without a vice. Like there's so many things that you have to concern yourself with daily, and then coming like monthly or quarterly to council meetings, so many things can get missed, right? Because there's just too much to cover. So yeah, I think like suggesting to our chairs to specifically ask about that thing, if that's an issue that is like prevalent at their schools, because I'm going to be asking about that. I would love to know what that is. So I think there's that. And then the other thing's gone. So cool. Anyway, that was just the one thing for sure was just mention to the chairs to specifically ask for that information, to hopefully start building that relationship.
Thank you, Catherine. Moving along. Are there any other notices for our next meeting? If there is no further discussion, I would like to, oh, pardon me, sir. Go ahead, Ken.
Again, I apologize jumping in at the end. I would like to know, is it permitted for PIC reps to request fundraise plans from our schools, or because these are public documents? Thank you.
So I can answer that. The fundraising plan can also be found on the school website.
Thank you, Susan, for clarifying.
So you don't have to request it. You can just go on the website and find that.
Thank you. With no further discussion, I would like to make a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting at 7:58. Motion by Rachel.
Agree.
May I have a second?
By Ken. To give Sydney, yep, and Ken.
Okay, so we're good. I saw Rachel's hand and I saw Ken, so we're gonna go with it that way. Motion to adjourn at 7:58. Thank you all for being here with us this evening. I will see you at our next meeting on February 24th on my birthday, virtually. So come with a cake, come with balloons, come with hat, whatever it is
not
that's
virtually.
necessary.
You have to do the right things, and we have to come with a cake and in person. I'm sorry, it's unacceptable. That's it. No.
I love you all. Thank you so much for your
Bye-bye.
time, and I will see you on February 24th. Meeting adjourned. Bye. Bye.
Bye and thank you. Bye bye, everyone.